Do not buy Little Hope. I cannot be any more clear than that. The game is going to disappoint you. No, it has nothing to do with the mechanics or the graphics or the character design or the story. It's the technical problems. And in my case, my save file on my PlayStation 5 got corrupted right before the final cutscene. Now, I knew something was wrong because the game kept crashing anyway. When the game would jump from a cutscene to a player-controlled scene, the game would take an incredibly long time to load. All the action on the screen would freeze for somewhere between 5 to 15 seconds, at which time I would usually get an error on the PlayStation OS. I'd have to kill the game, relaunch it, and typically play just a little bit to kind of get back to where I needed to be based on where the game decided to take saves. Unfortunately for me, the final crash turned out to be fatal, corrupted my save file, and I was not able to actually complete the game on my PlayStation 5. To see the ending, I had to go online and watch a bunch of other endings until I figured out which one was the good ending, because that's the one I was actually working towards. At my particular save file, all the characters are still alive, and I was ready to kind of see the culmination of the story. And let me tell you something. When you invest in a game, and let's be honest, I only spent about 5.5 hours on this game, pretty much all of my free time today. When you invest some time into a game, and this is the way it ends, how could you possibly endorse it? I can't. Come to find, I look online, on Reddit, and on other reviews from Metacritic. The game sits at a 71, by the way. And I come to find out that this is a common problem. Not just on the PlayStation, but also on the Xbox and also on the PC. And people are into save swapping and sharing so that you could download a save file from somewhere and import it to your console to continue along. I'm not about that. I'm done. And I'm going to go so far as to say I have no desire to play any more Supermassive Games because this was a known issue a year ago, and it's still a known issue now. This game came out October 30th, 2020, and I beat the game, using air quotes, October 22nd, 2021. They had one full year to figure this out. They didn't. Instead, they pumped out yet another game that just launched yesterday, which up until, honestly, today, I was really excited to play. That was the whole reason I decided to finally jump into this game, was to then say, okay, I'm ready for the next one. I'm out. And I'm really frustrated by that. So take everything I say from here on out as a, obviously, very against bias this game. But in all fairness, up until that point, and up until a lot of the crashes that I had, the game was relatively fun. The problem with any kind of horror game that revolves around survival, the characters themselves need to convince you that they're in danger. You as the player have to feel some sort of fear, whether it's being chased, whether it's being low on ammunition, whether it's being unclear as to what your ultimate objective is. You have to have this very personal relationship with the character on screen in order to make a horror game work. That's why games like Outlast work. That's why games like Resident Evil work. Because you feel invested in those characters. They give you enough of a story. They put logical constraints, whether it's time, ammo, health, whatever, in the game. And then they set you out on a path to succeed, hopefully, and to avoid any sort of tragic deaths or shortcomings. Unfortunately, as I was playing through Dark Pictures anthology Little Hope, I never really felt in danger. And I think that's why I was cruising towards the good ending where all the characters lived, because for the most part, I could see the decisions and I could see the logical process flow of this game as it was unfolding before my eyes. To me, that's lazy writing. I'll give you an example. There's a part of the game where you pick up a weapon, and I'm going to be vague here because I don't want to spoil it in case you're dumb enough to go buy this game, because I'm telling you it's going to crash on you. Go watch a YouTube video instead. Don't buy this game. But if you do, or you already played it, you know what I'm talking about. There's a scene where you pick up a weapon. Two characters there's one weapon, two characters. You have to choose which character gets the weapon. Then later on, I'm going to say maybe no more than 15 minutes later. Both characters are simultaneously attacked by a monster, okay? And a third character has to choose, and this is obviously you making the choice for said character, you have to choose which of the two people you want to save. Well, it's pretty clear, I think, to most people at this point, you're going to save the person who doesn't have the weapon. The reason why is while you are busy saving the person without the weapon, the other person with the weapon will be able to defend themselves. And guess what? That's exactly what happens. There's no shock or surprise or awe. It's like, I see this happening. And this happens over and over and over again. Not necessarily with weapons and monsters, but in making choices and clearly seeing, okay, do you want to help the frail old lady climb up a hill or the, young, fresh 20-something? Well, guess what? The frail old lady's going to take a little bit longer to get up the hill. You probably should help her first. And guess what? When you do, by the time you turn around, the young 20-something is standing right next to you because they were able to get up on their own. The decisions in this game carry very little weight. They really do. And it happens so many times that it's very predictable as to what the game is demanding of you. Now, there are times you will make the wrong choice. There are times either you will, a jump scare or something will cause you to either miss a quick time event, or just in the logic of kind of how you play the game, you may befriend somebody or piss off somebody that may block off a choice or may make a key decision it's not as registered as well with the character, because you do have to build up relationships with each other of these characters. So if you're really mean to a character and then you're giving them an instruction, there's a really good chance they're going to ignore you because they don't like you. You remember Clementine will remember that? Well, it's the same system here. The problem is a lot of these these choices that you're making as you're building up along the way are very transparent. And in the event you do totally screw up, you usually can do a quick time event as a get out of jail free card. It may be a little bit longer, but it will still be okay, move the reticle here and press a button, or press the X or the triangle button, or whatever the input of your controller choice or keyboard choice is to a rhythm game. And that is how you get out of jail for free. And there was never any challenge or risk. On top of that, the game tells you before you press a button prompt as to whether or not you're going to have to do either an aiming type of event or just a flat out press. So you can honestly just sit back and say, oh, looks like I'm getting ready to, okay, it's clearly wanting a quick time event. Let me get ready. Okay, quick time event's over. Put the controller back down and watch a show. Other games like this, even other games from Supermassive, these events popped up randomly, unexpectedly. Sometimes they were analog stick maneuvers, like, down and then like a counterclockwise circle. Sometimes they were trigger buttons. Sometimes they were face buttons. Here they've dumbed down to one of 4 face buttons, or aiming with the right analog stick and pressing a button. That's it. And you will master every single QuickTime event. You can put your characters in the craziest amount of danger. And I tested this. And this is, again, a game where I'm not really even invested in these characters anymore. But, I'll intentionally put them in harm just to see if I am able to maneuver through the process. And guess what? I did. And everybody survived. And everything was great. And life goes on. And I did that over and over and over again. And it's really frustrating because this is a cool plot. The graphics are beautiful, the sound design is phenomenal, and as you play through the story and as you understand exactly what's going on, it does really get you intrigued and invested. There's a reason I sat in front of my TV today for over 5 hours playing this game, because I wanted to know what happened next. I was interested in the story, and the way that they tell the story is they switch between character to character. Sometimes the group is together, sometimes they're split apart. Understanding and piecemealing together everything and seeing things from multiple perspectives to kind of understand the ground truth is a very key component to this game. And the underlying mystery of what is actually happening in Little Hope and why is this happening, and I don't want to give too much away here, but really getting into the mystery was fun. So you can understand my frustration when the grand reveal is happening. The big bad is about to, basically expose who they are. And you're supposed to kind of say, okay, I understand the ultimate twist. The game is now over. And it crashes on me. And it corrupts my data. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. I've been trying to be very calm about it to do a proper review, but it constantly mars my decision because something that I earned and worked towards was taken away from me because of really crappy coding. There are other instances where the game will make very jarring transitions. And this is clearly because they already have pre-shot cutscenes, depending on who is left in your game, depending on what the attitude towards each other characters is, and depending on certain dialogue choices you make. And the game does an incredibly horrible job of mixing all of those together to give you your truth. As an example, there's a part of the game where, and if you're not familiar with these games, it is told from basically this curator's point of view. It's this kind of creepy guy in this weird library. He talks to you, the player, directly, breaks that fourth wall. He tells you, as the player, you will control the action. And he checks in routinely through major plot points to kind of give you a summary of where you've been. And he'll talk to you about like, oh, looks like you lost so-and-so. Well, too bad for that. Or, hey, everybody's still alive. Why don't you keep up the good job? And it's interesting. The problem is the way they cut this guy's voice lines, it sounds very robotic. You know, you call a credit card company, you ask them for your status, and it's like, your current total is 1392. You know, it doesn't, the way that the words are spoken is very robotic. That's exactly how this is many times. And it feels like it's not pre-recorded just for you. And it feels like maybe the producers were lazy, and instead of them having a character say like, you are doing well, and then another character saying you are not doing well, they had a character say you are doing, and then one time record well and not well, and they spliced those together. It was like a very lazy way to produce this. There are times that the audio, as much as I love the sound effects and the howling and the chains rattling and some of the really spooky effects in this game, there are many times that the audio echoes and doubles, and it's clear that whoever was recording this voice line, maybe in COVID, I don't know, but whoever was recording this voice line was doing in a place that had an echo to it. And I could swear there are times I can hear the character almost getting lines fed to them as if they were wearing headphones, like the actual actor was wearing headphones, repeating what they were hearing into a microphone. It's very sloppy. And despite all of that, I still played this game. I was still invested in the story, and I still wanted to see it through. My advice to you guys, do not play this game. Do not buy this game. You are going to either have a fatal error like I did, you're going to have a subpar technical experience like I did, or assuming you get through everything, you're going to have some immersion breaking elements somewhere in the story, probably in the middle. I feel like that's where a lot of the technical parts of the game really start to fall apart. There are times, as some of the gameplay I've showed you here, the gameplay is beautiful. Everything works exactly the way it should. The characters make logical choices, and there's logical decisions to be made as you banter between different characters, building up trust with one another, exploring this town, figuring out what's going on. When all of those elements come together, this game sings. And it's a beautiful, wonderful experience, and it takes me back to what they did with Until Dawn and how Supermassive can take a story adventure game and put enough wrapper around it to make it your own experience. They didn't pull that off here. It's clumsy. It's broken. Do yourself a favor and avoid this game.